All right, with our chief investment officer here at Exit Wealth, Matt Goldstein in Colorado. How's the weather been, buddy?
Hot. We hit 90 degrees on Saturday.
Way too early for Colorado, yeah?
Very not good. Yep, we the ski slopes are not optimal. Let's just say that.
All right. Well, not optimal has been the S&P 500. I mean, what our conversation today is about is that it's always uncomfortable when we're in the midst of a drawdown. Everyone hates it, but it's temporary pain typically, especially when it comes to drawdowns leading up to midterm elections, Matt. The data is as compelling as you can find in finance.
It is. The average drawdown of a midterm year since 1950 is actually about 17% compared to about 12 for a normal year. So, um, considering as of we're speaking right now, the S&P is down about 5% from its January 28th high, and all the things going on in the world, it's actually pretty impressive we're not down more. So it is, if we were down more, would be completely normal.
And what we do know is a point of fact, depending on your time horizon. But if you do have enough time, meaning you don't need your money in the next 6 to 12 or 18 months, the stock market's undefeated. I mean, think about that. What in life is truly undefeated? I guess gravity, death, and taxes.
Exactly. I mean, the fact is, every horrible thing that's ever happened has happened. And, the market is essentially 5% off its all-time high. So, with a long enough time frame, every time you would have sold would have been the wrong time to sell. And I'm sure, whether it's, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years from now, you'll look back and you said, I probably shouldn't have sold.
I mean, for example, what if you had sold during the tech bubble of 2000 near the bottom? That would be devastating to try to get that back. Same thing in '08. As you know, some of the smartest money makes its biggest gains when they have dry powder and they start buying when everyone else is freaking out. Look just most recently during the COVID crash, right? The spring of 2000, the spring of 2020, COVID hits, everybody freaks out, the market dives, a lot of people get margin calls, and it was very uncomfortable. And for some people, devastating if you were forced to sell. But if you were not forced to sell, and dare I say, even started picking up high quality companies, you made out like a bandit.
Well, the other thing is psychologically, it's always easy to sell, right? Like selling is easy. You know what the hard part is? Buying back. Because when you sell, you get that amazing anxiety relief, like, oh gosh, I don't have to worry about it anymore. Market may go down a bit, and guess what? It'll stop going down. It'll start going up a little bit, but the news won't give you that all clear sign. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh no. And then it goes past where you sold it. And you're like, I'll just wait for it to get back. And then before you know it, it's up 10%. And then they're frozen because like, well, I can't buy now. So, that is why you want to have a dedicated plan of, how you're going to allocate your capital and how you allocate that capital, having a good plan of making sure you're allocated to the right things and weathering the volatility in the correct way.
I'll tell you, anthropologically, when you think about how human beings evolved and how we were designed in our biology to react to pain, we were designed to make a quick and swift and sufficient change so that we could procreate and keep the species going. And this happened throughout the eons of time. And when you apply that to investing, it's why it is indeed human nature. And it's why indeed a lot of people make that mistake. As soon as they feel a little bit of unease and pain, they just can't deal and they have to sell. And it doesn't mean they're weak, and it doesn't mean that they're not smart. It's how you were designed. It's how our species was built. However, if you can get for a moment intellectual and rational and try to tap down that beast within, that, again, to reiterate the point, that is precisely the time when you want to have your most discipline, and you may want to start picking up those stocks you've been eyeing for some time, because if you have a disciplined approach and you have a process, then you employ that process, especially when there's turmoil.
Yeah, that amygdala is a powerful force, but we all should be thankful, just like you said, because that's why we're here millions of years later, is because that evolutionary design has kept humans alive. Because, like you said, 100,000 years ago, you basically had three things: find something to eat, don't be something else to eat, and reproduce. And as soon as there was a threat, you were always looking what's going to kill you. And right now, if you think about it, in modern society, it's kind of hard to die. There's not anything going to kill us right away. So what does our brain do? Our brain looks for basically very big risk. Well, what do most of us associate with our survivability? Our money. So when our money's under attack, as in the market goes down, the amygdala fires off the thing saying, you're going to die, end this risk right now. So how do you do it? You just hit a nice little button and the risk is gone.
And I'll tell you, just as we wrap, for our members at Exit Wealth to know, and Matt and I have both spoken to many of you, as has Ted Jenkins, about how we're managing your portfolios. We are not suggesting that we just stand by and watch the traffic move around us and the chaos. Of course not. We've made some moves where we take some profits in oil and gas off the table where necessary, because just like if you're at the blackjack table and you've been on a hot runner, same applies with stocks. If you're up a certain percent, the way we have been in gasoline so dramatically, a blended 40+%, we'll go ahead and take some of those chips off the table because we want to lock in all of that impressive growth and return. Also, alternatively, we'll also sometimes make a choice as an investment committee here. Let's get a little bit more conservative. For example, February 1st, Matt, I remember the conversation like it was yesterday. I remember where I was when you and I were talking about it. Hey, let's go a little more conservative, firm-wide across all portfolios, with a couple of exceptions. But for the most part, through firm-wide, we said, let's go a little more conservative in our equities. And we did that. Boy, did that pay off. We did that February 1st. That was before, of course, anyone had any inkling that the conflict was going to spin up to the degree that it has in the Middle East. So sometimes you get it right. Thankfully, we did on that one. We're watching it very, very carefully. We talk about it all day, every day. We're aware, and we appreciate the faith and trust. Remember, bounce comes after the midterm elections. Historically, anyway, it's not a guarantee going forward, but historically, the data is as real as it gets. For Matt Goldstein, I'm Justin Farmer. Y'all have a good one.